Studio 10 presents.
For thousands of years, the Great Lakes have been used to carry people and goods from one harbor to the other. And most voyagers lived to tell that tale, like the crew on the Margaret A. Muir in 1893. But unlike the crew, the ship did not survive, and it had never been found until now. And Claudia, you got a chance to speak to the man who actually found the ship. Now, what do we know about this discovery?
Yeah, so Taylor, the Margaret Muir sunk near the mouth of the popular Wisconsin harbor during a storm in 1893. Bad storm too, like 50 miles per hour winds. And that's where it was found. It actually sunk and kind of stayed in that area. Wow. And it sat untouched at the bottom of Lake Michigan since it sunk. And the group that found it tell me every ship that they find tells us about the people on board. Take a look.
The dishes are still there in the kitchen, still sitting in the racks. People leave clues about their lives on these vessels.
What does the bottom of Lake Michigan tell us about our past? What can we learn from what sits below the surface? Maritime historian Brendan Baled says we can learn a lot. That's why he keeps searching for shipwrecks.
The only thing that we really have left, to link us to that important history are these shipwrecks. And so I like to find them, and I like to use them as a vehicle for connecting people back up with that lost maritime heritage that we have in Michigan and Wisconsin.
Growing up in the Upper Peninsula near the Keweenaw Peninsula helped shape his fascination with shipwrecks from an early age.
And when I was a young man, we had a couple of old wooden ships just right off our house, sunk in Lake Superior. And I eventually got to wondering what these ships were doing there, and nobody seemed to know anything about them. It's like they'd been completely forgotten to history.
And for the Margaret Muir schooner, it's a history that has been nearly forgotten until now. On May 12th, Brandon and his team of 3 with the Wisconsin Underwater Archaeology Association found the ship's remains in a busy part of the Algoma Harbor. It's been 130 years since the ship carrying barrels of salt met its fate.
Before I even went to look for the Margaret Muir, I already had researched, who built it, why'd they build it, who was the owner.
The Margaret Muir is one of the many to sit at the bottom of Lake Michigan waiting to be found since large ships started sailing the lake.
The first ship that we know of that was lost in Lake Michigan was actually the first decked vessel on the Western Great Lakes. It was an exploration vessel owned by the French explorer La Salle. It vanished in 1679. It's never been found. And since then, we've had around 2,500 to 3,000 ships that have been lost just on Lake Michigan alone.
He says they'll keep searching for shipwrecks to help tell the stories of those who lived and those who didn't.